joining us now, Zwelinzima Vavi, South African Federation of Trade Union General Secretary, who is live in Switzerland, in Geneva. Just landed there for the ILO conference. Dr. Vavi, good evening, and thank you very much for your time.
Good evening, Mhloli, and good evening to everybody watching your program.
It's official. South Africa's election results have been declared, and political parties now have 2 weeks to woo each other to form some kind of first ever national coalition government. It's been relatively peaceful. Yes, there are incidences, 1 or 2 of violence, murder and whatnot that police need to look at. But considering what would happen in other African countries, it's been a fairly peaceful transition to a new administration. Do you think this is something in that international forum that is going to be a point of conversation?
Well, every other African delegate that is in this conference is full of praise for South Africa's functional democracy. 30 years now, 7th time of us exercising a right, no major incident worth reporting about of violence, of lack of tolerance, of intimidation, of an attempt to deny other people's rights to exercise all of the rights that accrue to everyone in line with the provisions of our country's constitution. Our democracy is clearly maturing, and it is good that the governing party, the ANC, which lost massively in these elections, come out today to welcome the results of the elections. We are very happy about that level of maturity on their part. So are we happy with the Democratic Alliance, the Economic Freedom Fighters, and a host of other political parties that have come out to say these elections were free and fair. We did our best to get more votes, but this is what we settled with. This is the voice of the people of South Africa expressed through the numbers that we have received. We cannot defy what the rest of the society is saying, and so we have to live with that. That's what democracy means. You go to democracy into an election hoping that you will win a 2/3 majority, 100%, whatever you think that you can win. But when the results come back, one of the most important signs of a maturing democracy is when the participating parties accept that we have got 40%, 21%, 14%, 9%, whatever the percentage is. So we're quite grateful. Last night, we must say this, Mhloli, we were extremely concerned after the former president of this country, the former father of our democracy, and would have gone to the Independent Electoral Commission's voting stations or where the votes were being counted and announced to make a ridiculous claim. First claim was that he has evidence that there was massive rigging that was systematic to deny the right of every South African to exercise their democratic choices of the parties.
Yeah.
And he provided no evidence whatsoever. He even claimed that people have been arrested and that trucks were found, presumably, full of boxes rigged. And yet he knows that all parties were allowed to observe the elections to be in every voting station, which gets turned into a counting station after the voting have happened. And where they all sign that in our station, there are no queries, we are signing, satisfying that in this voting station, elections was free and fair. Where will you get evidence between that happening, which you observe, and the fact that these votes gets consolidated and gets audited at the National Independent Electoral Commission's headquarters, Where's the evidence?
Yeah.
But people keep on saying, no, there is rigging. There was massive rigging.
Yeah.
They won't produce evidence. Our call to the MK party and to the former president, Jacob Zuma, please, man, for the sake of peace and stability in our country, and for the sake of our prosperity, for the sake of sanity, accept that your party did very well with 5 months getting over 2 million votes, but that's all you got. You didn't get the 2/3 that you thought that you were going to get. Accept that this is a political reality. Enter into negotiations, bona fide negotiations with other parties to see whether you can find your way into forming part of the coalition government, because that's now our reality in the next 2 weeks, to get a government that clearly will be a coalition government, because no party secured more than 50% of the votes.
I'm going to come to the coalition. Let's talk about that a little bit. I mean, the fact that they are they're making a big meal about the fact that it's 26 out of, suppose, the 50 parties. They're saying that's a significant number of parties who are unhappy. It's not just MK. If it was, maybe it would be a different story. Two, the thing about the IT system and the claims that they are making about that IT system shut down and what could have happened during that IT system shutdown. And of course, they're saying, one, the IEC already, by accepting their request for condonation, however, be it very short notice, means they agree with them that the objections are significant enough. The IEC looking at those objections is enough admission that there are glitches there with substantial evidence. What do you say to that?
There will always be glitches. Look, the IEC yesterday confirmed that they received 20 complaints from Gauteng province, 3 from Northwest, 1 from Limpopo, and that was all. So they worked through that to recount, to do whatever is necessary, such that they come to the determination today that irrespective of those complaints, they don't make material impact on who have won, who have lost in Gauteng, in Northwest, and in Limpopo, and they are satisfied that the elections overall were free and fair. Now, the people who dispute that, and the people who say they have evidence that when there was a technical glitch, there was rigging, are saying we have evidence, but the evidence is in our pocket. We are not presenting it to the IEC and to the country to see. In our view, that's mischief. If you have evidence, don't put it in your pocket and keep on saying, one day we will present it to you, but for now, please postpone these elections, rerun these elections, let voting happen in a manner that all of us will see who you voted for, meaning that the constitution must be scrapped and that people must now go and vote in public, and that they must not be allowed to, as individuals, exercise their choices in secret. Surely that's creating the constitution. That's undermining everything that is provided in the constitution. In all our organizations, nobody is voting in public. Everybody exercises the right to choose the leaders in privacy, and that these processes get observed by observers and who satisfy if the elections were free and fair. Perhaps this is a statement that there was no election in the MK that produced the current leadership. There is no structures, there's no constitution, there's absolutely nothing. It's all about following our brother leader. It's a cult organization, fairly, but which now wants to impose those type of loose rules, no constitution on the rest of the country, that we must now follow a system where there will be no rules. We're saying no to that. And we object to an attempt to delegitimize a very legitimate, transparent process in which all parties were allowed to participate.
Yeah.
And we say no to the threats of plunging our country to violence and to replay the July 2021 utter mayhem that led to more than 330 black, poor, working class people dying in the streets, and with thousands and thousands of workers losing their jobs as a result of the massive destruction of trucks, burning trucks and destroying the infrastructure. We can't go back.
So do you think, even if they were to be given that hearing, because they say, well, at least hear us, let us make the complaints, don't block us from making the complaints, it would not make any material difference to them?
No, but the all parties were called upon by Friday. It's now Sunday.
Yeah.
They were asked by Friday, if you have any kind of evidence that there was some rigging or there were some glitches that will undermine the voice of the people through these elections, come forward with evidence, put it on the table so that we can engage with that. They don't. Instead, on the eve of the IEC announcing the elections, President Zuma and other people go to the IEC headquarters to say, we do have evidence.
Yes.
But please don't rush us. Someday we will give you the evidence. No, hold on. I'm one of the people who, since 1994, have been waiting for President Zuma to tell us who were the spies of the apartheid regime during the struggle. Up to now, 30 years down the line, he has not provided any of the names of who the spies were. When he attempted to do so by accusing Derek Hennekom that he was a spy, he ended up paying a massive fine and being sued. And he didn't defend that. So in order to say, look, I was in the intelligence, you were a spy. He paid. And we can't be taken for a ride by one person over and over and over again. Yeah. No, provide evidence. If you have evidence that there was rigging, put it on the table. The IEC gave you a chance to do so on Friday, Saturday, Sunday. You're not providing it.
A quick one.
But you want us to agree that we must postpone the announcement of the results? No, we can't agree to that. Our call to them, please, guys, man, please take the population of this country seriously. Yeah. Don't deliberately delegitimize this process so that they can fit into your clearly well-thought strategy to delegitimize it in order to provoke violence in the streets of South Africa. Please, your children and your families are not going to be impacted upon by mayhem. We know that it is going to be the ordinary people that will end up dying in the streets once you leave behind your well-secured family homes.
What is encouraging to hear of the ANC accepting the results, EFF accepting the results, and other parties and so on and so forth. How do you feel about reports that we are seeing that apparently the ANC is going to be pushed into accepting a market-friendly coalition?
Well, there's going to be a lobby going mad. It's a lobby frenzy as we speak. The ANC, I'm told, issued a statement to say that they are speaking to everybody, including MK. That's very good. And in our view, and this is again a biased view from workers, we would prefer that the ANC go into a coalition with the left-leaning political parties, certainly former liberation movements of our country, hopefully, who will not betray what they stand for once they taste power. We hope that there will be an alliance between the ANC, the EF, the AZAPO, PAC, and others who are left-leaning to say the 30 years is a total disappointment. Yes, we've made some gains, but overall 30 years have not reversed the devastating impact on Black people by what was designed to keep them on the floor by the apartheid, 40 years, by colonialism, nearly 400 years. We want that reversed. We want Black people to stop being the face of poverty, unemployment, inequality, propertyless, landlessness. And our hope is that if the ANC was to go with this left-leaning organization, there will be at least a pressure from the left. But if the ANC goes into a coalition with the DA, then there will be a pressure from the right. And we know already that the Democratic Alliance wants to remove the national minimum wage so that even the most vulnerable workers are not protected, and that the employers will go back to being free to offer farm workers, domestic workers, and security cleaning workers, whatever. Herman Mashaba says they must be given 1,500 rands, which Saftu wants it to be the basic income grant for the unemployed. But they say that's what workers must get after working 6 days in a week, 45 hours. So the pressure from the right will be scrap the labor laws, undermine even more the collective bargaining agreements that you sign with your employees, intensify the austerity program, cut budgets that must provide basic services to ordinary people who are currently going through worse in terms of lack of infrastructure in the rural areas, in the townships, and so forth.
What do you make of the posture of business that say if those are the so-called populist policies that are going to be advanced in that left-leaning coalition, investors will just pull out and take their money?
That's what they are threatening every time they want to blackmail us into agreeing with them. Look 30 years, not 27, 30 years of government doing everything business have been demanding. 30 years where we cut corporate taxes from their peak at 52% in 1993 to 27% now, where the monetary policies have meant removal of the exchange controls, allowing them to move their money and to list their companies overseas. And the 20 years of fiscal consolidation that have meant that there must be, in addition to corporate tax cuts, but in addition to that, they have been getting all manner of schemes. And all of that have meant that big business is sitting on investable money amounting to 1.4 trillion rands, and that they are moving between 300 and 400 billion rands every year through illicit cash outflows and mispricing. These guys are totally unpatriotic, totally self-serving people who only know one thing, and that is to chase maximum profits on behalf of their shareholders. They don't care a damn what will happen to black people or to the crisis of landlessness or homelessness that is expressing itself in Johannesburg, lack of infrastructure that is expressing itself now in towns, in our rural towns and in our formal settlements. We are calling on the ANC to reject these calls of big business and to do what will be in the best interest of the marginalized black majority in South Africa.
Zwelinzima Vavi, I appreciate your time. Thanks so much for coming on.